You use language every day to tell the truth, to say good morning, to explain yourself, to describe what you need and what you feel. Language in your mind is a tool for communication, for sharing reality between two people. But here is what the evolutionary record suggests, and it is strange enough to stop you mid-sentence. Language may not have evolved to tell the truth at all. It may have evolved to deceive, not in the crude sense of lying to your face, something more interesting than that, more structural, more fundamental to what makes you human. Because when you trace language back to its origins, past grammar and syntax and vocabulary, past the first cave paintings and the first symbols scratched into bone, you arrive at a period in human evolution where something happened to our social lives that required a new tool. Not a better spear, not a better fire, a better way to manage other people's minds. Here is where it starts. Robin Dunbar at Oxford University spent years mapping one simple question across hundreds of primate species. How big is the social group, and how big is the brain? What he found was not what anyone expected. The neocortex, the part of the brain handling complex thought and social reasoning, did not grow in response to environmental demands. It did not grow because the food was harder to find or the predators were faster. It grew in direct proportion to one thing only: the number of other people you had to keep track of. For early humans, Dunbar calculated that number to be around 150. 150 people, every relationship tracked, every alliance monitored, every status shift registered and filed. If you have ever wondered why your workplace feels manageable at 80 people and starts to fracture above 200, you now have the answer. That is not a management problem. That is a brain limit carved in by millions of years of social pressure. But here is where the problem starts. Other primates maintain their social bonds through grooming, physical contact. One animal picks through the fur of another, removes parasites, maintains closeness. It is effective. It is intimate. And it scales very badly. You can only groom one animal at a time. If your group doubles in size, the grooming time required doubles with it. At a certain group size, you would need to spend every waking hour touching other animals just to keep the group from falling apart. Nothing else would get done. No foraging, no predator watch, no children raised. Humans could not have survived that way. Dunbar's answer is that language evolved to solve exactly this problem. Language is social grooming at scale. Instead of touching one person at a time, you can talk to 3, 4, 5 people simultaneously. You can maintain multiple relationships in a single conversation. You can update your status, signal your loyalty, monitor your position in the hierarchy, and cement alliances all at once with nothing but air and sound. But what do humans actually use language for when you measure it? Dunbar's team sat in cafes, offices, and public spaces and recorded natural conversation across multiple cultures. They categorized everything. The result was uncomfortable. Roughly 65% of human conversation in every culture studied was social information. Who did what to whom? Who can be trusted? Who broke a rule? Who is rising? And who is falling? Gossip. Not ideas, not plans, not useful knowledge about the world. Gossip. 2/3 of everything you say on average is about other people and their behavior. Now here's what that actually means. Children begin deceiving around age 2. Small lies, simple misdirection, and developmental psychologists do not treat this as a warning sign. They treat it as a milestone. Because the ability to deceive requires the child to understand that another person holds a belief that is different from reality. That is theory of mind. The child is modeling another mind well enough to plant a false belief in it. The liar and the empath arrive at the same developmental moment, from the same cognitive leap. Every culture in human history has built rules against lying, not because lying is unnatural, because it is so natural, so built into the social machinery, that without rules constraining it, the group tears itself apart. You do not build walls around something that almost never happens. You build walls around something constant, something that cannot be eliminated, only managed. Most social information is not neutral. When you tell someone that a mutual acquaintance behaved badly, you are not just sharing a fact, you are positioning yourself as someone with information. You are building an alliance. You are shaping how that person sees the social landscape in ways that serve your interests. You are managing reputation, yours and others, with words. You are constructing social reality rather than describing it. Von Hippel, an evolutionary psychologist who spent years studying the social origins of intelligence, puts it plainly. The cognitive demands of social life, specifically the demands of competing, cooperating, impressing, and deceiving other people simultaneously, were the primary driver of human intelligence. Not tool use, not hunting, not environmental problem solving. The problem of other people, reading them, managing them, staying one move ahead of them. Think about what that means. Your intelligence did not evolve to understand nature. It evolved to understand people. Your capacity for planning, for anticipating consequences, for modeling complex systems, those abilities came from millions of years of pressure inside social groups where the most dangerous and most valuable thing in the environment was another human being. And language was the primary tool in that pressure. Not the only tool, but the primary one, because language lets you do something no other form of communication allows. It lets you place a constructed version of reality inside another person's mind without them seeing your hands. Here is where the story turns. To deceive someone successfully, you need to model their mental state with precision. You need to know what they currently believe, what you want them to believe instead, and what information would move them from one to the other. That is the most cognitively demanding thing a social animal can do. You have to hold your own beliefs and someone else's beliefs in your mind simultaneously, understand the gap between them, and build a bridge of words that moves the other person across that gap without them noticing. The machinery required to deceive and the machinery required to genuinely understand another person are identical. The same hardware, different software. Depending on what the relationship requires, infants as young as 9 months point at objects not to obtain them, but to share attention about them. They want you to see what they see. They want your mind aligned with theirs. Before they have words, they are already doing the thing that language will later make possible at full scale. Not describing reality, shaping what another mind holds. That capacity, the desire to enter another person's mind and change what it contains, is what makes deception possible. It is also what makes love possible. Empathy, teaching, every form of human connection that goes beyond the surface. You cannot have one without the other. Every culture in the world has rules against lying. Not because lying is unnatural, because lying is so natural, so built into the machinery of social life that it has to be contained. The rules exist because the capacity they constrain is the same capacity that holds communities together. Suppress it entirely, and you suppress everything human along with it. So when you ask where language came from, the answer is not poetry. It is not the desire to name the stars or pass down wisdom or sing around a fire. Those things came later. Language came from social pressure, from the demand to manage relationships at scale, from the evolutionary advantage of being able to construct a version of reality and place it inside another person's mind faster and more accurately than anyone competing with you. It came from the same place everything distinctly human came from. Other people. And the impossible, inescapable, endlessly productive problem of trying to understand them well enough to live with them. The next time you are in a conversation, listen to what is actually happening beneath the content. Who is positioning themselves? What narrative is being constructed word by word? What version of events is being offered to you as fact? You will be watching the oldest tool your species has. The tool that did not start as a gift, it started as a weapon. And somewhere along the way, it became the thing that made us human. You use language every day to tell the truth. Now you know why that is harder than it sounds. Here is the thing about that weapon that nobody tells you. The people who are best at language are not necessarily the best at deceiving. They are the best at both simultaneously. The most persuasive communicators in every field, the lawyers, the leaders, the teachers, the storytellers, they all share one trait. They have an unusually precise model of what is happening inside the mind of the person they are talking to. They can feel the gap between what that person believes and what they want them to believe. And they can close that gap with words so precisely that the other person experiences it as being understood, not manipulated. That is the ambiguity at the heart of every conversation you will ever have. Is this person understanding you, or are they constructing you? And more uncomfortably, in the best conversations, the answer is both. Dunbar once noted that the average human will have around 150 meaningful social relationships over a lifetime, each one maintained at least partly through language. each one shaped by what is said and what is left unsaid. Each one a negotiation between what is true and what is useful to say. Language is how you hold all of them together, not because it always tells the truth, but because it is the only tool flexible enough to contain everything that human social life actually requires. The comfort and the competition, the alliance and the rivalry, the love and the carefully managed version of yourself that you present to the world every single day. You were built to deceive, and you were built by exactly the same mechanism to connect more deeply than any other animal on Earth. Language made sure of both. That small shift in how you see yourself is why this channel exists. Every week I follow one human instinct back to where it began. Subscribe so the next one reaches you. Leave a like so it reaches someone else. And if you want to keep pulling this thread, the next one is on screen now.